What a headshot! What a head!
How's it, guys? This is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'll be taking you through my very own transfer plan for the upcoming Game Week 17. So before we get into that Game Week 7 goodness, which will largely revolve around the fact that HAALAND might be injured, so I'll be discussing two plans, one if he's actually injured, or two if we get news that he's not, and therefore should be fine for the upcoming Game Week 17. Now before I go over both those transfer plans, I'll be giving you guys the review of Game Week 16, quite an eventful game week, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's see if we actually got a green arrow. Then I'll turn my attention after that review to all the Game Week 7 goodness as mentioned. So that's what you guys are interested in. Sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So Game Week 16 was quite an eventful game week. We had the good side, the bad side, the injured side, and luckily we actually managed to come out with a green arrow. So as you guys can see, a nice little green arrow to the 315k mark, and that was thanks to 57 points. So the game week rank of 1.6 million took us to an overall points of 945, so let's hope the green arrows continue. Now in terms of our transfer plan for the upcoming Game Week 17, that's one free transfer and 1.5 left in the bank, so quite a big upgrade can be made if need be. Now this game week was quite an interesting one because that 57 points came from two players, so 75% of my overall points came from two midfielders. Now I'm going to start off on our bench because this week the bench was actually pretty important. Dubravka and Archer both came off it. So I initially benched Dubravka, but I did expect maybe my starting goalkeeper Areola to miss out with an injury, and he wasn't even in the squad for West Ham. Now in terms of Cameron Archer, he obviously came off for the injured HAALAND, so quite a big downgrade, going from 14.0 million to a 4.5. Now although Archer had a pretty decent game, he created 4 chances, no FPL points came out of this, so only the 2-point appearance. Now in terms of Charlie Taylor and Gay, both teams ended up conceding as expected. That's the reason I benched them, but then Charlie Taylor went and got a yellow card the 5th of the season, and therefore he's suspended for Game Week 17. So fingers crossed, we don't need him next game week because that's suspension, but he should be fine for Game Week 18 for the blank. Now I've already spoken about Areola, but I think it might have been a blessing in disguise. West Ham conceded 5 goals to Fulham, their second in a row, and although Dubravka also conceded about 4 goals, he got us some save points. Now kind of speaking about this 4-0 loss to Spurs, Newcastle also had Lascelles, so let's talk about the bad before the good. So Lascelles ended on 1 point, conceding 4 goals and also getting a yellow card will do that to you, so it would have been better off actually playing Charlie Taylor or Gay. Don't you know what's happened to Newcastle at the moment? Yes, I understand they've had their injuries, but this is a pretty full-strength squad, but I guess Spurs are also a pretty decent side. So Lascelles the -1, and either side of him is me the Arsenal double-up of Saliba and Gabriel. Now they both got 2 points, a massive haul in Game Week 16, but overall pretty disappointing performance. Now what was quite tough this game week was we had the Arsenal assets facing Aston Villa. You guys know I own Ollie Watkins, so I was just hoping for some returns at the end of the day. Now if you guys know the results of that, you'll know that we didn't get any points out of that Aston Villa vs Arsenal game, which is pretty disappointing. But I guess at least we did start Saliba and Gabriel over Taylor and Gay, as 2 points in Game Week 16 was massive. Now in terms of midfield department, unlike our defense, I'm going to start off with the good side. Our captain Mo Salah, actually our vice captain, but because HAALAND missed Luton, he became our captain. So nice 13 points, doubled to 26, relatively quiet performance against Crystal Palace. That's exactly what Mo Salah has done this season. He has a quiet game, but still comes out with a double-digit return. I just don't know how he does it. So not only a deflected goal, but a massively world-class assist for a Harvey Elliott goal. So if you guys don't own Mo Salah, I would be quite frustrated. But as mentioned, throughout the season he's done this, has had a quiet game overall. In the last 10-20 minutes, he racks up the attacking returns, and I'm just happy that I vice-captained him. Now, another option that had a relatively good performance was the South Korean Heung-min Son, a massive 17-pointer, 2 assists, 1 penalty goal, so finally we now know who's on penalties. So this was thanks to that destruction of Newcastle, 4-1 the end result. So if you guys vice-captain Heung-min Son, you probably would have been pretty happy. Now I just think back to a few weeks where people were saying, should you take out Heung-min Son? Without Maddison, how's that attack gonna look? I just think he's one of the most essential options in FPL, even though he wasn't playing out of position. So interestingly enough, he's actually starting in his natural left wing slot, destroyed Kieran Trippier, getting those 3 attacking returns. So definitely a hold until the Asia Cup, which comes around Game Week 21. But as mentioned, both Mo Salah and Heung-min Son contributed 75% of our points. So you guys know what's coming up. It's going to be blanks galore. We're going to start off with Bukayo Saka, Arsenal losing to Aston Villa, dropping those points. And obviously no goals scored means no attacking returns. Now Aston Villa are just on form at the current moment, Arsenal are struggling slightly, but overall quite a quiet game with only 1 goal scored. Then our transfer in this week was Anthony Gordon for the injured Mbumo, also a relatively quiet game, Newcastle only scoring in stoppage time when Gordon was subbed off, but with the injuries at the current moment, I still believe Gordon is pretty nailed. Then the option from last week that we brought in, Cole Palmer, only the 1-point appearance, booked for simulation or diving, in that Chelsea lost to Everton. So overall for our midfield department, it was a good performance from Mo Salah and Heung-min Son, but a pretty disappointing overall team performance from Arsenal, Newcastle and finally Chelsea. So just something to watch out for the future game weeks. Now in terms of our forward department, the main man Erling Haaland missed out with a bone stress. Apparently, it's quite an ambiguous injury. He could be out for a long time, he could be out for a short time, and Pep Guardiola was giving nothing away. So all you guys have to know is that he was out of the squad for this Luton game. Was it a good thing? Was it a bad thing? I just believe if he actually played, he would have got some attacking returns. But I guess you got Mo Salah's 13 points doubled anyways. So the news currently that we have about Erling Haaland is that he might be fine for Crystal Palace. But as you guys know, Game Week 18 is a blank anyways. So if he is going to be missing Game Week 17, I'll probably take him out. Now will we get more news upcoming? I don't exactly know. The Champions League is coming up, but Man City have already qualified. So I expect them to be rested in that anyways. And will Pep actually give us some valuable information in the press conference? Probably not, so we might be in the dark for this game week. But we did have the 2 points coming off the bench for Erling Haaland. Even if he did feature the way game week 16 went, he probably would have ended up blanking. So at least our vice captain got us some points. Then the last option, Ollie Watkins, pretty disappointing performance from him. Yes, he had a few chances I guess, but Arsenal are quite a watertight defense. But Aston Villa broke them down quite well. So no points this week, but at least Darwin Núñez also ended up blanking, as he was the natural replacement a few game weeks ago. So I'm happy that we kept hold of Ollie Watkins because Aston Villa are playing so well at the current moment, definitely the most informed side or one of the most informed sides in the Prem. But as you guys can see, it was the kind of game week of the 2s, the 1s and the negative ones. 75% of my points came from Son and Salah. Now at least that was enough for a green arrow of about 100k places, as mentioned currently 315k. And let me know how your game week went. Was it a green arrow, a red arrow, and where are you guys sitting in the overall ranks? Now before I go over my transfer plan for the no Haaland or yes Haaland team, I'll be going over my actual team selection to give you guys the context of how we're currently lining up. Now in the back of your mind, just keep the fact that I have 1 free transfer and 1.5 left in the bank, so an upgrade can be made if need be. Now starting off on our bench, and the bench this week looks pretty terrible. Charlie Taylor suspended, so he won't feature. And then Gay as Man City and Archer as Chelsea. Now finally, Areola will be on my bench against Wolves at home. I just don't trust that West Ham defense at the current moment. And although Newcastle considered 4 to Spurs, I'll be starting Dubravka between the sticks. So Dubravka has that Fulham at home game, which is pretty fine. That is on paper. When you guys look at the stats, Fulham have just had back-to-back 5-0 victories, which does worry me slightly about this Newcastle defense. So not only am I starting Dubravka, I'm starting Lascelles in my back line. So this honestly looks like tears for Game Week 17. So can Fulham keep up this good form? Will Newcastle bounce back? I don't exactly know. And just remember, Newcastle have a must-win game against AC Milan coming up on the midweek. So the first position that you guys might be worried about is my defensive department. So yes, 100%, I'll probably use a transfer on my defense if Erling Haaland's back fit, and I'll detail my 2 options shortly. Then we're going to stick with a double up once again of Gabriel and Saliba. Brighton at home is a fine fixture. Brighton have dipped in form recently, and Arsenal's defense isn't looking as strong, but fingers crossed we get a double clean sheet. Then on midfield department, I'm going to start off with our captain Mo Salah against United at home. Now on paper this game looks pretty good. United in terrible form, Liverpool looking pretty decent, but I'm slightly worried about this game actually because of all the hype. So this game is going to be harder than I think people are expecting, but I still believe Mo Salah is the best option at the current moment, as long as Erling Haaland's out injured. Then Heung-min Son as Nottingham Forest away, great game on the cards, and with Spurs flying high, I think that Son could be a Camsey shout. So let me know in the comments down below, who's your captain for the upcoming game week? Are you going for Salah or are you going for Son? I think if Haaland's out, those 2 will be the popular options. Then finishing off our midfield is going to be Saka against Brighton at home. Good fixture on the cards here. Brighton haven't been keeping many clean sheets, and I expect Arsenal to bounce back at the Emirates. Then Gordon against Fulham at home, but please watch out for that AC Milan game as mentioned. It is a must win for Newcastle. But what I will say is that if Gordon starts this game, I can see an attacking return at least. Fulham's defense isn't that strong, even though they have kept clean sheets in the last 2. Then finally Palmer, I just hope that he starts this game as well, and Kunku nearing that return, but I still believe he's the best Chelsea attacker at the moment, and therefore should be in the starting 11. So great game on the cards. If he does start, Sheffield United are pretty bad, and although they've had some manager bounce, I think Chelsea can do quite well here. Then finally, our forward line of Erling Haaland against Crystal Palace at home. I can't really tell you if he's going to start or not. We're going to have to wait for some press conference news. But if he does, I think he can do quite well in this one. So all eyes will be on Erling Haaland and those training pictures coming up on Thursday or Wednesday. As mentioned, I expect him to be rested in the Champions League anyways. So let's see if he returns to training later in the week. Then Ollie Watkins, glad I kept hold of him. Brentford's defense has dipped off recently. I'm expecting a big performance from Aston Villa once again against a pretty secure Brentford side. But as you guys can see, with that one free transfer, an upgrade can be made. I'm hoping that I can use it on my defense if Erling Haaland's back fit. But if he's not, I might actually have to shift him out. What would you guys do in both those situations if this was your own team? Let's go over what my thoughts are right now. So as mentioned, I'm in kind of two minds with my transfer plan. The first situation is if Erling Haaland is back fit. If he's not, I'm going to have a transfer out probably. But I guess I could do both these moves for a -4. So the first situation is a defensive transfer. At the current moment, if you're looking for a defender to buy, there's one man for the job. It's Pedro Porro. He looks like he's on fire, but that Spurs defense can't keep a clean sheet. Now, do I see a clean sheet against Nottingham Forest, Everton, and Brighton? I might see one out of those three, which does worry me slightly. Now, if Spurs can kind of back up that defense, if the injured players return, that makes Pedro Porro an even better option, as from an attacking point of view, he's red hot. Now, he is slightly more expensive than our 4.5s, but I can afford this with that 1.5 in the bank. Therefore, the player I'll be taking out is going to be Gay from Crystal Palace. So although Palace look pretty decent against Liverpool, the upcoming fixtures, Man City, Brighton, and Chelsea aren't looking that secure, and that's why this is a nice transfer to do. So I know that Pedro Porro might be quite tempted, but he's tempted for a reason, putting up great numbers, the best defender at the moment to get. But as mentioned, I'm slightly worried about the clean sheet threat of Spurs at the moment, and therefore this week I might go for a more secured option. Now, though Chelsea might not be as secured, their fixtures are definitely looking pretty good, especially the next one against Sheffield United. So in terms of Chelsea defenders to get, there's only one man currently I think might be slightly nailed, and that's going to be Cole at 4.6. Now, this is definitely a risk though. That Chelsea defense has been rotated quite a bit, but it seems like Cole might be the most nailed out of the defenders. But this move will be more for a punt because I can, as I said, just get Pedro Porro. He's the more secure option, might not have the highest points potential, but definitely the highest ceiling compared to a centre back. I just want to put this out there. If you guys can't afford something like a Pedro Porro, if you don't have enough money in the bank, I think Cole is a viable option, but just be prepared for some Pochettino rotation in that defensive department. So this transfer, probably for Pedro Porro, might be locked in for a -4 or a free transfer, depending on the main man Erling Haaland. So let's talk about the Norwegian for a moment. As mentioned, no news at the current moment as I'm recording this video. All we've had is Pep Guardiola basically saying that he might be fine, he might not be, but as the days progress, hopefully we get more news. Now what I will say is that if Erling Haaland misses Crystal Palace game week 17, I'll probably take him out and therefore take a 2-week punt. If he's back fit, obviously I'm going to keep him. I might even captain him against Crystal Palace, as when he plays, you guys want to have him. So in terms of 2-week punts, there are a couple of options. You can go for an Isaac if you think he's going to start, but Callum Wilson has returned to the squad. If you guys don't own Ollie Watkins, he could be a good punt, but because I do already own him, I'll be going for Solanke. So yes, a cheaper option, but he still is packing a punch. He has Luton, Forest, and Fulham, so even if Haaland's injured for that Everton game, Solanke could deputise for 3 game weeks. Just great fixtures on the cards here, and Bournemouth's attack has been pretty good, and I'll showcase that in the Ultimate Guide coming up tomorrow. So this transfer will be for a downgrade. I've had a couple of questions on my Discord server about people asking me if I do this Haaland downgrade, I could afford a Trent or a Trippier, but the fact is, if Haaland's back for Everton, I want to still get him in my squad, and therefore leave enough money in the bank. So these 2 transfers could be for a -4, they could be for a 1 free transfer. If I don't feel like Pedro Porro is worth it for game week 17, I could just keep Lascelles in my squad, as long as Erling Haaland's back in the team. So let me know what you guys think about these moves. I think they're pretty tempted at the moment. I just believe Ollie Watkins might be more popular than Solanke, but because I own him already, I'll be going for the Bournemouth striker. For your own teams, are you looking to downgrade Erling Haaland, upgrade to a Trent? There's a couple of combinations that are quite interesting. But this is basically going to wrap up the video, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. And I'll be seeing you guys for more videos this week, the Ultimate Guide and the team selection coming up later. But for the time being, I'm going to sign off. It's been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.